The Fox City Score chapter and WHBY are pleased to bring you Biz Talk, a chance for you to hear from entrepreneurs and professionals as they share their experiences from starting to sustaining growth. Learn the skills needed for your business to be successful. If you missed anything, you can catch the Biz Talk podcast at biztalkwithscore.com. And now from the Myron Construction Studio, it's Biz Talk on WHBY.
Good morning and happy Saturday to everyone. I'm Rick Sentz along with Terry Pinch, my co-host today. And you're listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY. Terry, I have to ask, with all this rain, you've been able to get biking this week and the last week at all?
Oh yeah, I was out for 14 miles this morning and I'm up to 38, loop the lake so far. 12 more to go for my t-shirt.
Wow, 38 times this year already, huh?
Yep.
That's impressive. Good for you. Well, listeners, this morning we are fortunate to have, I believe, it might be one of our first guests from Ellison Bay, kind of on the edge of the state. If you look at the state from the peninsula standpoint, that's the finger that kind of sticks out there in Door County, otherwise known, and I know most everybody knows Door County. And our guest is a proprietor he and his wife are the owners of Uncle Tom's Candy Store. And I'm sure listeners many of you have been there as well. And our guest's name is Ryan Mueller. Welcome to the show. And just have to ask you right off the bat, candy, what's your favorite thing to make? What do you like to eat and what do you like to make the most?
That's a great question. Right now, the fudge is what I'm really partial to. I've always been a fan of Reese's peanut butter cups, and we make something called a chocolate peanut butter fudge that is basically like a Reese's peanut butter cup, but on steroids. And it's a real problem for me. My wife yells at me all the time. Sometimes I eat a full sleeve a day and just watch those profits go out the window. So I'd say that's my favorite. But pretty much anything that we make here, and I know it sounds cliche, but I really enjoy all of it. But the chocolate peanut butter fudge is especially troublesome for me.
Okay, I'm sorry I put the cart in front of the horse, but I just had to know because that's always the burning question for me when you have people on that make things and that people want to stop and drive to and get to and have. So before you started with Uncle Tom's Candy Store, maybe you could give listeners a little background about the things that you and your wife were doing, and then maybe walk us through what led to the decision to buy the business.
Absolutely. So before Rebecca and I purchased Uncle Tom's Candy Store, which was in January of 2022, as we all remember, that was just now becoming to be the post-COVID-19 era when things were beginning to open back up again and be available to the public. So my wife had just completed her master's degree in sociology. I was in the middle of completing my Doctor of Education in Interdisciplinary Leadership from Creighton University. Say that 10 times. Believe me, I've tried. And I was also the Vice President of PNC Bank and Retail Banking in Milwaukee. So heavy into the academic side while also trying to navigate the COVID-19 era in retail banking, which was difficult to do, to say the least. And it was especially draining on me just watching a lot of our hiring guidelines decrease, expectations with our employees diminish. And I felt like it was the correct time to perhaps investigate other alternatives, other places to go, other opportunities. And perfect, it seemed serendipitous at the time, but we found out that Uncle Tom's Candy Store was becoming available for sale just a few months earlier in October of 2021. And the rest is history. We jumped right in. We're very familiar with Door County. My family has owned property here since the 1940s, 1950s. So we always loved Door County and coming up here. And we just felt like it was a natural decision to make.
So interesting background going in and starting your own business or buying a business. You had the finance background, so you understand the money and the in and out and the debits and the credit side of the business. How much has that been a positive impact on what you and your wife have been able to do so far?
It has. It definitely helps us understand, accounts, receivables, how to speed up the money coming in, slow down the money going out whenever you can. But even more importantly than that, it's helped me really understand the value of the customer experience. I'm sure you can imagine navigating COVID-19 in a retail banking world was very difficult to do. You know, a lot of our systems and processes changed. A lot of our facilities and locations closed. Many people had to resort to online banking or had to use the phone to call or inquire about an issue that they had, and oftentimes struggled to get to a real person instead of an automated system. So meeting at the customer's level and really doing everything that you can to ensure that they have a positive experience is what really helped translate over into this industry, into the confectionery business, because we really take the time to make sure that more so than just the awesome candy a customer gets from Uncle Tom's Candy Store, they have an awesome experience with us.
You maybe give listeners some of the background and some of the conversation that you and your wife went through when making the decision to actually purchase the store, and then maybe also add on to that what that process was like.
Of course. You know, I wish I could say it was full of drama and it was a difficult one to make, but that wasn't the case here. My parents were definitely catalysts in assisting in making the decision. They both are full-time residents of Door County, just outside of Bailey's Harbor, and had been full-time residents for a while. They were very supportive and informative in just discussing the opportunity, what it meant, the logistics behind moving from Milwaukee to Door County at the time. And they're just a valuable resource in that area, quite frankly, like they've been my entire life. So it really made that decision much easier than it otherwise would have been. And then, of course, the familiarity with retail banking and just the banking industry as well made the prospect of, you know, looking through their books, the spreadsheets, accounting, made that process much easier and straightforward. So it was really, as I don't want to say simplistic, that's the wrong word, but it was an efficient process, and it went about as smoothly as I think it could have gone, considering the circumstances.
And you were buying a business that's pretty well known in the area. And that must have been one difficult in some ways for the person selling the business. But how did you work with the sellers in a way that made them feel like they were doing the right thing for the business long term?
Absolutely. Well, the business itself is attached to a large residential property that the previous owners, their entire family, lived in as well. So the previous owners were really keen on selling the land and the property to an individual who was going to keep the business alive, the legacy of Uncle Tom's Candy Store alive, instead of just purchasing the land and the property. As many of you know, land in Door County, regardless of the state of our economy, generally ascends in value year over year. So, but they really wanted somebody who wasn't just doing this as an investment or a real estate grab, but somebody who had the intention of keeping the business alive, which we genuinely did. The Laughlins, the previous owners, are a great local family up here. They come from a long line of Weeborgs, which are some of the prominent fishing families in Door County. And they had run this business for over 25 years and raised an entire family on the property in that time as well. So it really worked out well for us because we wanted to start a family up here. We wanted to keep the business going. And, you know, our desires perfectly meshed with the Laughlins and their intentions when they sold. So again, you know, it's always a cliche saying it was meant to be. It just really felt like everything aligned, and it was the perfect time, right place, right time. And it was one of those meant to be transactions, if you will. And furthermore, I just do want to mention the Laughlins were so accommodating in the sale of this business and property because Rebecca and I did not have any previous confectionery experience. I mean, my wife is a great cook and a great baker. I mean, she was always awesome at doing those things, but we weren't making candy professionally or as amateurs before this. And the Laughlins allowed us to actually move into the business and the home for months, learning from them, renting the property out, understanding how to make the candy so that we could in good conscience keep producing the products that our customers have grown to know and love.
So I have to ask the question. Obviously, there's a real deep commitment on their part. But who is this Uncle Tom? Can you give the listeners the backstory on who Uncle Tom was or is?
Oh, yes, of course. Uncle Tom is the foundation of everything that we do here. He was an eccentric, loquacious, generous individual who started the candy store in 1973. And even before that, and this candy store is built on one of the oldest schoolhouses in northern Door County, the Newport Schoolhouse, which was built in between 1918 and 1923. There are varying answers behind that date that it was constructed. But Uncle Tom Collis was his name. He was selling product out of that schoolhouse even before its official beginnings in 1973. And he built a legacy really based on a few key elements that really resonated with myself and my wife, Rebecca, as well. The first is inclusiveness. So, sometimes the wrong connotation or the wrong idea is considered when one hears Uncle Tom's. They go to Uncle Tom's Cabin, or they think thoughts relative to conflict or racism, but really that's quite the opposite of what Uncle Tom stood for and what this business stands for. It stands for inclusion and representing and highlighting the sacrifices that certain key contributors to our society make. Moreover, we have patches that we've collected from police, fire, and military personnel since the business opened in 1973. So if you walk into our store, our rafters, our ceilings are covered with hundreds and hundreds of patches that customers have mailed to us or in person delivered to us with their story over the years. And that's just one of the many traditions of inclusion, and then highlighting the amazing contributions that police, fire, and military make for our freedoms on a year-over-year basis that Uncle Tom started. So he was a guy that all about tradition, really unique and generous. In the very beginning, it's a tradition we still have today. You walked into the candy store, you would get a sample of free popcorn ready to go. And you'd have Uncle Tom waiting to have conversation with you, to share some of his insights and philosophies about the world while you were shopping from some of the best candy around. Now, I don't fancy myself the philosopher that Uncle Tom was, but I certainly am waiting to have conversation with our customers when they come in, as is my wife and the rest of our staff, because as I mentioned before, we want that customer experience to be super positive. There are so many places in Door County people can go. And I feel like sometimes some of the businesses up here make the experience more transactional than transformational. And we try to be transformative. We try and make sure that every customer, even if they weren't so particularly happy coming into the store, walk out of our store feeling really happy and good about the experience.
All right. I think we're at a right spot for the first break. You're listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Biz Talk on WHBY Radio. I'm Rick Sense, along with co-host Terry Pinch, and we're really glad you joined us this morning. Our guest this morning is Ryan Mueller from Uncle Tom's Candy Store in Ellison Bay. But before we get back to our conversation with Ryan, I'd like to just spend a few moments talking to you about SCORE. Fox City SCORE serves an 8-county area with offices in Appleton, Oshkosh, and Fond du Lac. We have about 45 volunteer mentors, each an expert in their field, offering entrepreneurs no-cost and confidential mentoring. Those areas of expertise include IT, social media, marketing, cash flow, accounting, strategic planning, workflow, human resources, retail, best practices, and many, many others. In order to register for a no-cost confidential mentoring session and or to learn more about the Fox City SCORE chapter, please visit our website at score.org/Fox Cities. You can learn more about how the SCORE chapter can assist you with starting and or growing your business, and you can complete an application for a free mentoring session. Simply complete the online form and submit it to SCORE. Within a few days, a SCORE mentor will be contacting you to set up a meeting. And remember, SCORE is no cost and offers experts who can offer you assistance in many different areas. To get started, please visit our website at score.org/ Fox Cities. And to support small business people, Fox City SCORE is always looking for new mentors. If you have experience that you would like to share with others, we'd love to talk to you. We welcome volunteers with experience in all aspects of business. Small business owners need your help, and your experience can make a real difference to their success. Go to score.org/Fox Cities, click on the volunteer button, and fill out the short application. And we'll get back to you to explain more. So thanks again for joining us on Biz Talk, and now back to the show.
And this week we're talking with Ryan Mueller from Uncle Tom's Candy Store. And Ryan, prior to the break, we had talked a bit about the transition and learning how to make a product you've never made before and doing it very successfully. But you are also coming from a, let's face it, pretty high-powered role in a bank doing certain things, and you moved to a small business doing all the things small business people have to do to keep the business running. How was that transition for you personally and for yourself in terms of getting the business going and really understanding things?
Yeah, a great question. I quickly learned that the success of the business that one owns and operates is completely predicated on the work that they're willing to put in. It's not a 9-to-5 job that's going to make a small business successful in this county or in this state. It's 70, 80, 90 hours a week, fitting in time whenever you can, even at the expense sometimes of familial relationships or personal interests, to ensure that the business is successful. In a business like this, we are reliant on ingredients and products from other businesses and vendors all across the country. Because we make everything by hand, the quality of our ingredients has to be the best. I know a lot of people say we have the best. We really do use the best ingredients, the best cane sugar, the best chocolate, the best raw Spanish peanuts, cashews, pistachios, the things that we use to make our high profile products. And when you're so reliant on so many other vendors and institutions and businesses to produce that product, there are a lot of relationships that you have to balance. So really learning about myself, just organizing those relationships, maintaining those relationships, and then deducing, where's the money going to come from and how to balance the purchase of certain ingredients and products from one day, from 1 week to 1 month to the next, dependent on our revenue streams and how much business we have. And as I'm sure you can imagine, taking over that business as brand new owners, of course, we have spreadsheets about revenue from previous years, but those were during COVID. So we really did not have any idea what type of revenue we were going to receive and what type of interest the community would have in new owners of this business when we took it over. So there was a lot of inherent risk involved.
The other risk that kind of stands out to an outsider is Door County is very much known for summer tourism. How does that affect your business in the winters? Is it pretty cyclical?
Yeah, it affects us big time. So from May 1 to November 1st, we have pretty considerable traffic at our brick and mortar location. But I knew just from my previous experience in banking and other industries, even prior to that, you have to be able to promote yourself and the product that you had. So we invested a lot of money and time into a new website the moment we took over the business, because we knew that direct to consumer via online sales was what's going to get us through the winter when, our traffic diminishes tenfold from, December through April. So we were able to survive winters on the strength of our direct to consumer online sales. But you're absolutely right. The foot traffic in the winter is minimal up here.
Yeah. And I bet there's an attraction for people who summer in Door County to be able to order their favorites in the winter wherever they're living.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the best time to order chocolate in the summer. We pack ice packs into the shipments that we send out to customers, but especially if they're going out of state, it's a total, at best a 50-50 proposition if the customer is going to get the product intact. So in the winter months, fall, winter, and spring, that's the best time to order candy, especially candy like ours that isn't pumped full of preservatives. You know, you can order a lot of candy from large manufacturers and have it shipped to you, and it's okay because it won't melt or it will stay in quality form because of all the preservatives that are put into it. We don't put preservatives into our products, so it's much harder for it to ship in quality form to the customer, especially in the summer months.
Well, let's wrap up this segment with a follow-up question on that then, is how did you learn what you needed to do to get a good product to a customer when they order online?
Failure. That's the short answer. I wasn't filled with this wealth of knowledge, right in the beginning. I just thought the customer ordered a product in the summer. Let's get it to them. That's not quite how it worked out. It wasn't that easy. I had to fail. We had to fail, learn and understand very quickly the nature of candy and chocolate, especially in warm environments where we can't control the shipping processes. And, yeah, we failed a lot. But we corrected and learned from those errors and mistakes, and we're in a much better place now.
Great. So we're at the time for our second break. You're listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY. We're talking to Ryan Mueller from Uncle Tom's Candy Store in Ellison Bay, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Biz Talk. We're talking with Ryan Mueller from Uncle Tom's Candy Store in Door County. Before we get back to Ryan, I wanted to mention a couple of educational opportunities that SCORE has going on. And first, I'm going to talk about one that's a live event. So in person, you can find out more on our website, score.org/Fox Cities. But we're repeating our Accelerate Your Business for Women event. It's an in-person event on September 30th, a full-day event. It'll be in Wisconsin Dells. Go to our website, score.org/Fox Cities, and you'll see little information on the front page. You can click through and register. But in addition to live events, we have an incredible library of recorded webinars and events. And if you go to that same website, score.org/Fox Cities, up at the top, there's a tab for workshops and events. And I just want to mention two that are coming, two national events. They're live events you do online. One of them is How to Scale Your Business, 5 Steps to Business Growth. That's on July 9th at 1 o'clock. It's a 1-hour event. Another one is Boost Your Business with Artificial Intelligence. Simple tools for success for small businesses. And that's on July 13th. July 11th. So 2 of those online. If you go again to the website, score.org/Fox Cities under workshops and events, you'll find those 2. But within that site, there are literally hundreds of live and recorded webinars that you can find. So you can find training on almost everything. So please take advantage of that. So again, whether it's online or in person, we have events to help you learn more about your business. So with that, we're going to go back to Ryan and talk a little bit more about the business itself. So Ryan, as you started this business, and purchasing it and moving into running it, did you have a plan in your head? Did you have a written plan, or did you set goals? How did you go about thinking about where you're going to take this business?
Yeah, great question. Once we had an understanding of how to make the products, and produce what our customers had grown to love and expect, we began to brainstorm and speak to one another just about, goal setting. Where do we want this business to be in year 1, year 2, 5 years from now? What were our intentions and desires? And I think the first one was we wanted to survive year 1. Post COVID-19 environment, we wanted to make sure that there was some money in the bank. We could pay all of our expenses and we could survive. And we did that. And then from there, we kind of adjusted our goals, our expectations, and the goal that we had when we first took over the business and that we still have now is that we'd like to bring more jobs and opportunity to Door County, especially northern Door County. We'd like this to be a business that's able to fulfill wholesale orders in excess of $500,000, $1 million from larger stores, both locally and regionally in the state of Wisconsin. And we'd like to build an additional facility on the land that we have for those employees and to manufacture and produce those products. So that's the ultimate goal that we have for this business. We're happy where we are right now and all the customers that we get to serve. But ultimately we would like to grow and expand.
And as you grow and expand, where do you find the workforce to help you with this? It's got to be pretty competitive in Door County.
It is competitive in Door County. Generally speaking, money talks, and you're going to have to pay a little bit more to have an employee in the far northern part of Door County than opposed to them getting or having a business or a job opportunity in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, or Green Bay, larger metropolitan areas where there's a lot more housing. Housing's really the big issue. You know, you can even offer a few dollars more an hour for a job up here than, say, in Sister Bay or Sturgeon Bay. But if the housing opportunity isn't available or in close proximity to the business, you're not going to find or have any staff, especially in the off season. So if we were to build another facility to manufacture and produce our products, you better believe that we would have housing built into that as well, where staff or employees would be able to stay comfortably and in close proximity to the business so that transportation would not be an issue.
Yeah, just thinking as a university student, having a summer job with a room right next to a candy store that you're working in Door County sounds like an opportunity.
It's a good opportunity. I mean, if you would have told me I would have had a room making $20 an hour as a sophomore in college for a summer job, I thought I would have been in paradise, especially in Door County where you have so many amazing outdoor opportunities from fishing, hiking, hunting, exploring in general. I would have loved something like that. And boy, in my day, even $10 an hour was great. So times certainly change.
With being in Ellison Bay, there's obviously, we just talked about some of the positives and the strengths of that. What are some of the challenges of being located in Ellison Bay?
Yeah, that's a great question, Rick. The geographical location makes everything more expensive. It makes delivering the product directly to the business from whatever vendor we're using even more difficult. To be more specific, even if we had a business in Sister Bay, Wisconsin, some of the vendors that we are using right now may be able to get deliveries every day of the week. Up here, because we're north of Ellison Bay, some of those vendors only deliver once a week or once every 2 weeks. So we have to be even more on point and regimented with our ingredients, the products that we need to keep producing the need for the community and our customers. Because if we're not, simply put, unless we go to that vendor and pick that product up wherever they are in the state of Wisconsin or out of the state, we're not going to have what we need to maintain a business. And that's a big challenge. To give you an example, the price of cocoa butter has quadrupled this year. Cocoa butter is essential for making the fudge and the chocolate bark, which consists of almost 50% of our revenue day over day in our store. So not only has it become drastically more expensive, but it's also become more scarce. So we get it even less. And being in the location that we're in, it makes navigating those rapid fluctuations in the cost of an ingredient or a product even more difficult. And one thing, and this kind of leads me into something else I wanted to share and mention, especially in this particular time, the cost of our products have never been more expensive. Just general cane sugar is twice as much as it used to be when we took the business over. Cocoa butter quadrupled. These are things that would normally put small businesses like us out of business. We've been so fortunate to have a strong base of loyal customers, both online and visiting the store, that we've been able to survive. And not only have we been able to survive and keep going, but we've been able to do it without increasing our prices in the store. It's another thing that we really pride ourselves on. You know, I remember I talked about the customer experience here and being a destination, just not a place where a customer goes to shop or get a product. And in line with that, it goes with the pricing. I mean, if a customer walks into our store and they're paying $29.99 for a pound of fudge, they're probably not going to walk out with a smile on their face, at least in my experience. So we really pride ourselves on the pricing. We are definitely the lowest priced candy store in Door County with the highest quality product. And we continue to keep our prices at a fair and reasonable place without even incrementally increasing them this year because we value the customer experience so much. Now, in hindsight later on, that may be poor business practice and hurt us in the long run. I don't know. But right now, we're surviving. And I take pride in the fact that knowing we're doing it the right way, as opposed to just increasing the prices, and in turn completely changing the customer experience here.
As you continue to see the online part of the business grow, how much of an impact and an influence are you going to be focusing for that reason on the online? Is it like going to become a certain percentage of the business? Is that the goal?
Yeah, we really want to expand our online sales, and they continue to expand year over year, but there are a bunch of other areas that we haven't touched in on. We do not partner with Etsy or Amazon at this point, and those are huge marketing opportunities where as soon as we attach our name and allow our product to be viewable or sold, on those entities, the online direct to consumer, and will expand even more.
So how has the process of the business, the making the candy day in and day out, how has that evolved over the time since you and your wife started? I mean, obviously, when you're in the learning mode, you're probably spending a lot of time, considerable amount of time on it. Is it something that you're able to compact the time on it, or is it still just as lengthy as when you first started?
It would be initially, once we became really efficient at the candy making process, less time was able to be spent on producing the product. But our revenue, our interest from our customers and our revenue has about doubled since we took the business over 2.5 years ago or so. So in turn, I mean, we can be as efficient as we want with the candy making, but when you double the amount of product that needs to be produced to meet the need of our customers, we're going to be in the kitchen a lot. So in the busy season like this, I mean, I'm spending about 50 to 60 hours a week alone, just making sure that the product is available in our store for our customers when they come in.
You get to the point sometimes where you have to manage what you make. So given the time constraints and the demand where maybe you have to carry less of one product than you want, is that one of the things you do to manage time?
Yeah, that's a great question. We do. We also have to manage what we make, dependent on the weather itself.
Right.
On hot, humid days, that humidity and that heat is eventually going to permeate into the business. Even though our business and the candy store is on the lower level of our schoolhouse, which is partially underground, that cool environment gradually turns a little bit warmer. And when it turns warmer, that means the granite countertops that we use to cool our chocolate and our brittle after it's been cooked becomes warmer. And as some people know, when you pour brittle especially, the surface must be cold so that it hardens and becomes brittle. If it's not, it won't turn into brittle and it'll just be a chewy, disgusting mess that gets stuck in your teeth. So we have to really manage our time and cook certain products at specific times of the day on days that are either cooler or warmer than others to make sure the product comes out the correct way that our customers expect.
Okay. So I can see how that's relatively easy to manage in store. How do you manage that online if there's issues? Do you just have to delay the shipments a bit, or?
Yes, but being a small business, one whose reputation is staked on the customer experience, we really try to be better than Amazon, to be better than a big box store. Meaning when you place an order online, we process that order and get it to the postal service within 24 hours. No questions asked. That means that we have to be up to date on all of the products that we have in our store. And if for some reason there's a shortage or a product that we don't have in-house, we eliminate that from our website or note it as out of stock immediately, so the customer doesn't have the expectation that the product is available, and then they get an unfortunate email from us days later that says, "Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have that product. Would you like the rest of your order, or would you prefer to wait until we have that product back in stock?" Those sometimes are unavoidable issues that we have to address as they happen, dependent on what's going on with our other vendors. But we really try and avoid those situations and inconveniences for our customers as much as possible.
And when you do build a new building, I'm assuming it will be easier to control temperature than in a 100-year-old building that you're in now.
Yes, than an old schoolhouse. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it will be temperature controlled. The tables themselves will be temperature controlled. So we could pour 15 batches in a row of scalding hot brittle on that table, and it's going to maintain the exact same temperature time and time again, without changing in any way. So those will be luxuries, that bring a smile to my face just thinking about them when the time comes.
Yeah, in 20 years, when your kids are taking over, you could tell them stories about working in the old schoolhouse.
Yeah, my son Barron, he's 19 months old. We'll be 19 months old very soon. And he's already in the business, greeting customers, working on the cash register, supervising activities. So we're trying to start him young and really make sure he gets a good understanding of the operations, but not what the candy tastes like.
Yeah.
So you obviously it's family, you're family centric. You cater to family centric people. You yourself are looking to make sure that your entire family is involved, you and your wife. What other people is it important for you to be involved in the business that you've had, and maybe that have popped in and helped you with something over the course of time? Can you maybe share some stories of people that have been there for you, that have been able to help you move along the way?
Of course. I mean, it goes without saying, my wife, Rebecca, is my rock. She's an amazing woman. She's taken the business over with me and played such an integral role in both working in the business and raising our son. I mean, I can't say enough about her. I've also briefly touched on my parents as well, both John and Mary Corvo, who reside up here in Door County. They put a lot of time and effort into me over the years. Back when I was playing high school and collegiate professional basketball, they came to my games and always supported me and pushed me to do what I believed in and what made me happy. And that didn't change when we took this business over here in Door County. But in Door County, once we took this business over, there's been so much support from the community. And I mean, I can just run down the line of radio stations, newspapers that were doing stories on us, sharing our story, what Uncle Tom stands for, what the candy is like, way more than we deserved. Especially initially when we took the business over. And even to this day, I still have, the Green Bay Press Gazette, the Door County Pulse. They do stories and share updates on the candy store, which they don't need to do, but those are things that share our story with our community that we really appreciate. And then beyond that, so many small business owners in this community have been super helpful, providing us product before we even need it, because they know that we need it. We've had some super loyal customers that do woodwork and designs. And one day, one of the customers, knowing our summer hours, built us a hand-carved wood sign that we still have hanging up outside our store right now during summer hours. And actually, just a week ago, that customer, his name is Bob St. Henry. He won't mind me saying his name. He came back in and said, "Hey, Ryan, I know you have winter hours. Would you guys like a winter sign as well?" And this is a really beautiful hand-carved would sign that they're giving to us. They're not asking us to pay for it or soliciting anything from us. They're just doing it because they're members of the community, and they want to see a small business succeed. And there are a lot of experiences that we've had like that here in Door County. I mean, even the Laughlins, the previous owners of this business for nearly 3 decades before we purchased it, have been an invaluable resource. When we text them or call them about a question or a particular product or a vendor, they answer the phone. They share their insight and feedback, and they don't ask for anything in return in the process. And it's just, that speaks to the caliber of individual that's up here. The local business owners and families that have been living up here for generations are just an incredibly quality class of people. And I'm just very fortunate and privileged to be able to, reside with them and live in this community with them. And it really pushes and inspires me to be the best version of me that I can be, because so many of these individuals are such quality, generous, altruistic people.
All right, we're at the spot for our last break. You're listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Biz Talk. I would like to thank the sponsors and donors who bring Biz Talk with Score to you each weekend. We couldn't present Biz Talk without their generous support. Thank you to Hailing & Associates. Hailing & Associates helps small businesses and individuals not just prepare tax returns, but plan for taxes, thereby helping you minimize taxes for this year and beyond. Hailing & Associates, personal connection, positive results. A special thank you to the Business News for promoting our program in the biweekly business newspaper serving Northeast Wisconsin. If you aren't already subscribing to the Business News, you should. The paper is delivered biweekly and contains relevant and useful information about the business community in Northeast Wisconsin. We would also like to recognize the David L. and Rita E. Nelson Fund within the Community Foundation for the Fox Valley region for their generous support of Biz Talk and Fox City Score. So thank you to all our sponsors and donors. And now we'll turn back to Ryan Mueller, co-owner of Uncle Tom's Candy Store. So Ryan, could you let us know and our listeners know where they could find you and get a hold of you?
Absolutely. So we have a website. It is www.uncletomscandy.com. Everything that we have in our store that we make by hand is going to be located on that website, as long as a lot of additional information about Uncle Tom, the history of our store, and just where you can find us and special events, things like that we have going on. So that's a great place. My direct email is Dr. Candyman at UncleTomsCandy.com. That's Dr. Candyman at UncleTomsCandy.com. So if you have any questions, or you have just anything that you'd like to learn about our store, please feel free to message me there. And then I also just wanted to share something special for your listeners. I really appreciate this opportunity to share the story of Uncle Tom's Candy Store. The success of our business is completely predicated on customer support and interest. And we have some great loyal customers, and I love meeting new people, and I hope that we get to establish a lot of new and quality relationships with some of your listeners. So in lieu of this great opportunity, I also wanted to share that for Saturday and Sunday of this week, if a listener comes into our store during business hours, we're open 10 to 5 on Saturday and 10 to 3 on Sunday, and just share with either myself, my wife, or any one of our staff working the register, WHBY, the score, you will get a 20% discount on anything that you would like in our store. Just a special way to say thank you for this opportunity. And I'm looking forward to meeting some of your listeners.
Oh, great. And thank you very much for helping people with that. And so in the last minute or so we've got here, let's talk about again, what's the future for you? When you look at this now, 2.5 years in, where do you see this going?
Yeah. We have an eye for expansion. The state of our economy, always plays a role in how quickly that can happen. But we believe that there is a desire and a demand for this product outside of the greater Door County area. So our goal and our intention is to work towards an outcome where we have a manufacturing and distribution facility that provides additional jobs to Door County and helps grow and expand this business beyond the county lines.
Great. Once again, we'd like to thank you for being on the show. You've really done a great job of taking a Door County business that's so well known and making it even better known and building up more clientele and also taking it into the world of online and those types of things. So great improvements there. And as my wife learned and children learned at the Christmas fair within the last 2 years, you have great products. And so we hope that everybody gets an opportunity to take opportunity to use that discount this weekend. So with that, thank you everybody for listening. You can find us at biztalkwithscore.com if you want to listen to this show again or other shows. We really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next weekend. Bye.